Perfect. Perfect. That's okay. So for a roll call, do you have the list of student?
Yeah.
Perfect. We just sit on it. It's okay. Don't mind. So just council members, right?
Yeah. It'll begin at business representative.
And do you want to keep track of will you keep track of who's there or just write down who's not? Here's a pen and paper, it's fine.
Awesome.
Perfect.
And it's not on the list, but there is also a first-year representative.
I'll start with them. All right, we're going to do a roll call of the council members present, starting with first-year representative. Is there any? All right, present. Business student representative. Present. Board of Governors representative, we have two, so there's Anna, present, and Dhruv. Present, perfect. We have education representative. Present. Equity representative. President at the bar. Indigenous student representative. Present. International student representative. Present. Student of African descent representative. Present. Thank you. Sciences representative. Present. Student union president. Present. Vice president academic. Present. VP external affairs. Present. VP residence affairs. Present. VP finance and operations. Present. VP activities and events. Present. Perfect. General manager. Present. We have the chair next to me and deputy chair. Present. Faculty advisor.
He is not present.
Faculty advisor not present. Fantastic. All right. So before we go any further, I want to take a moment to recognize that the U and StFX exist on Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. It's important that we acknowledge this and the grounds on which we stand as we move forward towards reconciliation and go forward with our events tonight. So with that, we can begin our evening. So, like I said to you before, I kind of did my opening remarks out of order here, but my name is Mitch Archibald again. I have the pleasure of hosting tonight. I'm not a StFX student, but I am a proud supporter, and I really enjoy coming here every year to chat and speak with you folks. But yeah, so as we move on, so I'll give a kind of quick rundown of how this is going to go tonight. We have the agenda there on the screen. I hope you're all able to see that. As we go, we are going to require people to keep the noise to a minimum and to try to kind of keep your attention to what we're doing here. We'll try to make it quick, fast, and fun. And if you have any questions, feel free to make them known. So we will start with approval of the agenda. So we're going to have council, if possible, move these motions, and I'll have the chair record them. So I'll have someone to move the motion to approve the agenda. Perfect. Motioned by Sciences Rep. Seconded by
Education Rep.
Seconded by Education Rep. All those in favor to approve the agenda on the screen. Hey. Those opposed say nay. Motion is carried. Thank you. Business arising. Nope. We'll move to business arising. Is there any business arising? I'll call a second time. Business arising. Perfect. There is no business arising. And we'll move forward. Sure, go ahead. Okay, that's fine. Perfect. We'll now move to special reports to council, and we'll start with the presentation of the 2021 audited financial statements from a representative of Grant Norton.
Thank you.
Sorry. It's just the names of the people I never know. So
oh, yeah. No worries. Sorry, I'm just getting my employee to bring me my...
That's okay. No worries.
Would you like me to continue to take notes?
I'm okay with that. That's the only thing I don't. And
Yeah, of
then
course.
For emotions, if you can record them separately,
Yeah, of course.
then I'm good with everything else. Perfect.
Sneak out of your way. And yeah, I will continue to keep updated
That'd be
track
great.
of the motion.
Are you okay if I go and put my mask back on? Or you're okay? Okay, no worries. You should be all good. No worries. Oh, we were going to put it on the screen, aren't we? Cool. I'll keep them distracted for a minute. Yeah. All right, folks. So while we prepare to get the financials on the screen there, this is something I do say every single year. We're very lucky, and I think as students, you're all very lucky to have the opportunity, I think, to go through the audit and to have the transparency to do that. And the lovely representative from Grant Norton has taken the time out of his evening to come and present to you. So we ask that during this part of the presentation, more than anything else, that we be as quiet and respectful as we can, so those who choose to listen can hear and can be involved. So this part more than ever, I don't mind if you talk over me, but while my friend here presents, I would appreciate as quiet as we can get. I can give you my mic if you want. That's easier. Okay, that's easier for you.
Okay, thank you very much for allowing me to be here today. My name is Ryan Armstrong. I'm a senior manager in the assurance stream at Grant Thornton here in Antigonish. I've had the pleasure of being here for a number of years now to present the financial results for the student unions. So today, I think everybody has a summary package out there on the tables. The summary package is also up here on screen in case you don't have the opportunity to peer over somebody's shoulder and you don't have it right in front of you. It's also here up on the screen. Full copies of the financial statements. I have handed a package off to Julianne, as well as the report to the audit committee, which will be distributed to council at some point. So those documents are with Julianne in management right now. So there's 3 pages to this presentation. The first part of my presentation, it's not on this summary, it's the independent auditor's report. So basically what I want to touch on here is that we have issued a qualified opinion for April 30th, 2021. This is a common opinion for not-for-profit organizations. Basically, there are a couple of revenue streams, and the nature of those revenue streams cause us to issue a qualified opinion. Basically, the completeness, especially when you're dealing with a lot of cash transactions, you may not have from the start to finish, and we have to rely on what's in the books and the records with those revenue streams. But outside of that qualified opinion, these financial statements present material, the statement of financial position, statement of operations and cash flows, and that they're in accordance with Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations. So now we get into the numbers. And so up on screen, our first statement is going to be the statement of operations. So what I'd like to look at and go through here is that the main focus of here is we're going to be looking at the budgeted numbers for 2021 versus the actual 2021 as opposed to year over year. So the main focus will be on the budgeted to actual numbers. So this year was a strange one and one faced with new challenges for the student union. Obviously, everybody's well aware of the pandemic that's hit. It hit at the onset of this started fiscal year. Actually, right before this fiscal year started, it came into play March 13th, 2020. So this had a full year of dealing with COVID and changing and altering and adapting with the times. So many of these things, the results are a function of COVID with the variances between the budget and actuals. So basically, when we want to go down here, so we had a budget of about $1,814,000. Total revenue actually came in at $2,052,000 this year, so a good increase over the budgeted revenue. So if we look at some of the line items and how that came to be, starting at the top, so this is one area that was hit very hard by COVID. So your activities, we had budgeted about $215,000, but unfortunately, due to COVID, no live events. A lot of the events were unable to take place. We were able to get some frosh kits sold during the year, as well as had some promotion income, but there was no ticket sales due to no events going on this year. So we had budgeted $215,000. Actuals came in at $47,000 during this year. Your next line is your communications line, budget of $16,500. This is basically came in at $17,000, very consistent. Advertising, promotion, sponsorships led to the revenues of $17,000. Drive U, actually there was some sponsorship this year. There was no budgeted line item, but we received about $8,000 in total revenue this year from the Drive U program, for the Drive U program. The next line item is another area that was hit hard. You had the Golden X Inn. So here we had a budgeted revenue line of about $292,000. It came in at about $240,000. One thing that I would mention here is that although we were down from budget, I would also like to take into consideration down about 6 lines. There's the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy. So that was a federal government program that helped out organizations during periods of reductions in revenues. So while organizations still were maintaining their staff, as long as they still maintained their staff, they were able to recover some of the wages that were being paid. A good portion, majority of this portion would be attributed to the Golden X Inn and their drop in the revenues from the inn. So it's almost, you almost want to look at those in conjunction to one another. So if you look here, so budgeted $292,000, it came in at about $240,000. COVID limited the restrictions. There were delayed openings. The amount of time that the inn was actually open this year went from 4 nights to about 3 nights. So we did see some decline in the budgeted revenues. One area that you did see an increase was the food service. Implemented a delivery takeout option, so we were able to see some gains in an increase in food service, but the door cover, the promotions, the live events ultimately led to a decline in your total revenues. The next line item is your health insurance premiums. It budgeted about $571,000, came in at $768,000. This line item, along with the fees, where you'll see an increase of $89,000 in your overall fees, along with your student assistant program, saw an increase of $8,000. These increases over budget are a direct result of higher enrollment from what was originally anticipated. Given COVID, it was unsure whether in-class was going to happen, whether it was going to be a lot virtual, what the enrollment was going to be. The budget had reflected the uncertainty. The actual results came in, and we actually had higher enrollment during the year, which resulted in those 3 lines being above budget. Your information desk and bus services, you'll see this is one area where I will touch on year over year. So it closed down and moved over to the university. So no revenue line item this year. Actuals budgeted $3,000. Your union services was in line with your budget at just about $11,000. The next line item was the fees. I touched on that. Investment income, interest, and vending. I would like to speak on this for a little bit. So we budgeted about $39,000. Actual came in at about $113,000. The majority of this income during 2021 was a result of a fluctuation in the fair market value of your investments and what you hold in your portfolio. So last year, at the end of April 30th, you were at the onset of the pandemic. Market values around the world were down. This year, during the year, it was rebounded, and we're able to maintain it towards the end of the year. So our fair market value of your investments rebounded, ultimately led to an increase in the fair market value. So of that $113,000, the fair market value adjustment was $102,000. The remaining amounts related to your vending machine, and then about $200 worth of the bank interest from the bank machines during the year. The next line item that I haven't touched on is your clothing revenue. This was a signed agreement with the university. $25,000 came in on budget. And then the last 2 items, the lease and income with no line item this year, and then the Farmer Save convenience store, which was not in operation during 2021, which there is undertakings underway to get the student union's own convenience store in 2022. So total revenue, $1.8 million budgeted, came in at $2,052,000. So if we look at total expenditures next, and we'll see we once again budgeted $1.8 million in expenditures. The expenses came in just about $112,000 above at $1,925,000. So specific line items, if we go through the activities, again, in correlation with your revenues, budgeted at $209,000, came in at about $60,000. Within there this year was a new line item, if you'll be looking in your schedule, with house hockey tournaments, with had expenditures of about $13,000. So if you normalize that, your other activities were about $47,000, so you ultimately broke even with your activities revenue above once you normalize for your house hockey tournament expenses. Your communications, you'll see slightly down from budget, about $6,000. Actuals came in at about 58, so a little bit under on your wages and honorariums this year. The Drive U, we maintained the program throughout the 2021 fiscal year. Came in on budget, budgeted of $27,000, came in at $28,000. Next line item is your Golden X Inn. So here you'll see that we had budgeted $272,000. Actual cost this year came in at about $335,000. So there was a couple items in here that you maintain staff during the year. You actually had to increase staff to adhere to public health protocols, cleaning, security, ensuring everything is in order at the Golden X Inn. So more ways. So overall, Golden X Inn was up about $63,000 during the year. The next online item would coincide with your revenue. So you saw an increase in your health insurance premiums, so more people were enrolled in the plan. So this year we had budgeted $560,000. Actuals coming in at about $805,000. So it was two part to this increase in your on your expense side of things. One, the enrollment was higher within the plan, but also there was a premium increase from your provider. So that premium increase came into your expense line during fiscal 2021. The corresponding increase in your revenue will be seen in 2022, where it's going to be passed upon to the ratepayers. So that's why you see about a deficit on overall in your health insurance of about $40,000 during the year. The information desk had no items this year, so as I mentioned, moved away, so no costs associated to the information desk. Union service, about $8,700, came in consistent with your budget of $9,200, while your administrative services were about $10,000 up over budgeted. Actuals of $423. So here you would have full-time staff members' wages. Your annual given program is located in here. Accounting, professional fees, legal fees, insurance, donations. There's some depreciation. So that's where all those administrative costs come in. So there was fluctuations through varying line items, but overall came in about $10,000 above budget. Student executive costs this year, $148,000, came in at about $129,000. Here, the largest item with here is the honorariums, which were $3,000 within budget of about $3,000 this year. Here you also have the memberships for the student unions and CASA. You'll see a decline here because conferences and travel and the banquets did not take place as they had in previous years due to COVID restrictions. So a decrease in your student executive costs of about $19,000. Council expenses, here's honorarium. Training was slightly down for budget, but you're pretty consistent, down about $1,000 from your $27,000 budget. Actuals were $26,000. While your student relations, where here's honorariums and operations, were down about $11,000 on your $34,000 budget. And then the finance office, where you have licenses for SOCON, and then your honorariums were down $7,000, so actuals of $14,000 on a budget of $21,000. And the last line item in your expenditures would be your student assistant program, which basically your contributions to the My Wellness program. Actuals came in at about $11,500. So all told, total expenditures budgeted 1.8. Actuals came in at $1,925,000. So that led to an excess of revenues of about $127,300 this year on a budget of $712. I would mention once again that if you normalize that excess of revenue over expenditures for the change in the fluctuations in your fair market value, the student union would have still had excess of revenue of about $25,000 for the fiscal 2021 year. The next page that that works a lot better. Put that in there. The next page that I'd like to touch on is the statement of financial position. So this ultimately will give you a snapshot as of April 30th, 2021 of the total assets and the total liabilities that the student unions owned and were obligated for obligations at the end of April 30th. So here we had just under $2.1 million in total assets. Your cash and cash equivalents, consistent with last year, decreased about $8,000 this year. So cash, general cash, not restricted for any outside purposes, just under $300,000. Your accounts receivable were down about $42,000 this year. Last year there was some receivables set up for the Canada Wage Subsidy Program of about $27,000 that were not this year. So all of that program were received before the year end. Also in there would be a receivable related to the endowment fund of about $12,000. Inventory consistent, $8,700 year over year. Prepaids, licenses and fees were about $15,000 this year. While your restricted cash, which is money set aside that are ultimately set aside for your deferred health insurance premiums, your deferred revenues, as well as your restricted assets, was about $311,000 this year. So the increase there because the increase in the deferred revenue resulted from the increase in your actual fees. So you receive the money throughout the year, but it covers the September through to the August period. So we had to defer the 4 months period in the summertime. So your investments this year, here's where you see the increase in your fair market value. This year, your investments on the books at fair market value at $905,000. Your property and equipment, we increased our property and equipment $42,000 this year. We had additions of about $80,000 while we amortized about $38,000 worth of depreciation, amortization on the books. So the biggest addition this year was there was some architectural fees as we were looking at the renovation to the Golden X Inn, which projects will come over the next few years. So there was about $58,000 related to costs associated to the architectural fees for that major project that's upcoming. And then in your endowment fund, for the funds that are held with the university, $284,000 or an increase of $8,000 over last year. So all those assets bring us to our balance of just under $2.1 million. So how did we finance and fund those assets? So here we have total liabilities of $470,000. The biggest liabilities here again meant the deferred health insurance premiums. So a quarter of the year or a third of the year has been deferred, $294,000. Accounts payable this year were, as of April 30th, were about $126,000. So last year was $136,000. Last year there was a larger amount owed over to the university just to the timing of invoices. While that was offset somewhat by a little higher amount owing back to for house dues, house funds this year. So a decrease of about $9,000 in your accounts payable. Then you have your deferred revenues of about $11,000. Then the next two line items and the first two line items in the long-term portion excuse me, would relate to your long-term debt and your obligations under capital leases. So no new debt was taken on during the year, whether it was in the form of financing or capital leases. So regular repayments were made. So there's $20,000 roughly approximately remaining on your long-term debt, which would be for the drive-u vehicle, while you have about $15,000 related to the capital lease and the computers on the records of the student union. So total obligations of $470,000, while your net assets were $1.6 million. So if you break that down, you have restricted funds of about $5,400. What you've invested in your capital assets that you put in is $188,000, and then your surplus is about $1.4 million. So we had an increase of $127,000, or about an 8.6% increase over the prior year. So pretty good result, all things given during a pandemic year for the student union. The last page that I'll talk on, which just high level, just go through, would be your statement of cash flows. So here you'll see where we had the decrease of the $7,700 in your cash. So here you brought in about $238,000 from operations. You expended about $14,000 overall in repayments to your long-term debt and your capital leases, while you invested or expended $231,000 in your through your investments. So $80,000 again for investments in your capital assets. You increased your restricted cash, 43,000, and then you change in your investments of 100,000, which I've touched on. So those three categories netted to a decrease of $7,700 in your cash and cash equivalents. So that is kind of my presentation for this evening. Those are the 3 pages. The full set of statements will come with some notes, with some breakdowns of some of the items that I've gone through in a little bit further detail, along with some schedules at the back that will outline, again, in additional line items within the schedules, but I touched on all the main highlights, the highlighted points that touched on all the main variances in my presentation, but the full set that council will receive will have that additional information in the notes and in the schedules. So I don't know if there's going to be any questions, but if there, that would be my presentation on the numbers right now. So.
Perfect. Any questions? Sounds like no
Yeah, I like that. Yep.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Ryan from Grant Thornton. Perfect. That's the other side there, I think. Perfect. Can I zoom in on it? I don't know if this would. All right, folks. So again, thank you so much to Ryan from Grant Thornton for presenting those there. We are going to... Perfect. And I'll look to our chair. Do we need approval of the audit or just presentation? Perfect. All right. That sounds great. Perfect. So we'll move on to our second special report from council, which is a presentation on open educational resources and introduction of zero low-cost courses. Pretty exciting stuff. All right. Hi, Meredith. How do you want to do it? Are you going to sit? Are you going to sit? Or are you going to, yeah.
Can I stand? It feels weird to sit. Oh, that's such a shame.
I can see it on the screen there, but I can't see. You might have to unplug it.
Where is Sean Kiley's laptop? No way. Because I have a presentation on it. Oh, here it is. Perfect. Do you think I can stand and talk? I guess I'll just... Is this? Oh, the live stream people? I can start it. Hi, everyone. I can't read it.
Second, yeah, that's it.
Okay. This is so weird. Okay.
Have you ever presented to this?
No, I have, but it's just weird with like this much space. Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Meredith. I'm the VP Academic of the Students' Union, and I have a little talk for you all today about open educational resources and a new part of our website, which features a zero textbook cost course list. So a little agenda, I'm going to talk about textbook costs and some of the results that we received from our student satisfaction survey last spring. I will tell you what OER are and how they can help us with textbook costs. then I would love to show you our new Zero Textbook Cost website, and then introduce our letter writing campaign. Okay, so textbook costs. In 2015, 45% of Canadian undergraduate students graduated with more than $25,000 worth of debt. As I'm sure you all know, undergrad is expensive, and it is an issue for Canadian students. In 2017, Maclean's magazine ranked StFX University second in Canada for highest cost of textbooks at an average of $917 a year. And textbook costs disproportionately affect low-income students because they don't necessarily have access to the same learning materials that their peers might, so they have a harder time accessing all of the material they need. And finally, reducing the cost of textbooks is one of the most effective ways to reduce financial pressures on students in general, so this is definitely something that can really help students. So just some results from our student satisfaction survey. This was answered by 1,600 students, and we just asked them how the cost of textbooks had caused their behaviors to change. So 14% of students said that the cost of books had caused them to not buy groceries or change which groceries they bought. 10% said that they'd paid a bill late because of the cost of books. 12% said they wouldn't buy clothing that they needed. 3% said they wouldn't access healthcare services. 5% said that they had dropped a class or taken a class specifically because of its textbook price. 14% said that they wouldn't be able to go out with friends because of the cost of books. They didn't have the money for it. And 25% of students said that they had completed a course without a textbook because it was too expensive. So what are OER, and how do they help this problem? So OER stands for Open Educational Resources, and it's any openly licensed teaching and learning material. In simple terms, it is teaching and learning materials, so things like textbooks, assignments, worksheets, all that, and it's in the public domain, so anybody can access it for free. You don't have to pay any money, you don't need access codes or anything. It's just free to use, free to share. What do they look like in practice? So you may have already used OER in your classes and not really realized it. If you've ever been given a link to an online textbook from a professor that was free, chances are that was an openly published textbook. So they do exist on our campus and across Canada, but they're just not super duper common. What are some barriers to OER? So why don't we have these everywhere? Why are we still paying for books? There are a couple different issues. There's a lack of awareness among both students and faculty. So not all students really realize that OER is something that we can ask for and that there are alternatives to the learning materials that we're using now. And the same thing goes for faculty. If they're coming in, they've got big textbook publishers constantly trying to sell them textbooks, and they may never have been in a space where they were exposed to this sort of thing. Switching textbooks takes time and energy on faculty's part in general. Switching to OER can mean looking for a new one, potentially adapting it if it's outdated or doesn't quite cover the content they want it. So it does take time and energy from faculty to switch to OER. And kind of on that vein, you need support, you need expertise, you need to know how to adapt OER, you need to know where to find. And on our campus, and on a lot of campuses in Canada, there isn't enough support to help faculty with that process. And finally, there's also not always a ton of push from students. So again, going back to that lack of awareness, not all students really realize that this is something that we can ask for, and that talking about it, getting the word out is actually a really effective way to increase their prevalence. Okay, so what can we do? Well, today we're launching our Zero Textbook Cost course on our website, which hopefully will kind of create a little bit of buzz, raise awareness, help students who need to be conscious of textbook costs choose courses, and also appreciate faculty who've gone through the time and effort to make a Zero Textbook Cost course. Also, increasing the visibility of Zero Textbook Costs and inform students about them. Oh, sure.
There you go. Ooh, that works. Cool. You can go back to the presentation if you want, Mayor. Yeah, so I just wanted to stop us really quick and make sure that everyone is listening to what Meredith is saying, because I think she's doing some pretty significant stuff that's going to impact how much you pay for your textbooks. So just wanted to quickly pause. Sorry, Meredith, to interrupt you, because I think this is significant and something that you should note. So I'll hand the floor back over to Meredith. Thanks,
Mitch. Okay, so welcome to our new website. It's theu.ca/OERs. So it's just a little bit of information about the platform. This is a list that's compiled mainly by students' experiences. It is confirmed with the professors that teach these courses, but it's not perfect. It's also not complete, so that's just a little disclaimer. There's some information about the cost of textbooks, some information about OER. And then this is the start of our letter writing campaign. So there are 2 letter templates on this website, one that you can send to faculty and one that you can send to administration. So you've got your faculty letter there. You can go to that template and it's got lots of information about OER and why they're important, and you can send it to your professors, and it's just like gently reminding them that these exist and that it is important to students. And then the letter on the administrative side, these are the people that make budget decisions and decide where the resources go. So going back to that conversation about a lack of resources on our campus, if this is something that students start asking for, they will start to shift their thinking and prioritize these when they make decisions. So we've got some library contacts, our AVP contact, and then the 4 deans. So those are all great people to send our letters to. And finally, here's the beginning of our zero textbook cost list. So hopefully we'll grow it in the coming years, but it's a pretty good start. Okay. Yeah, so I encourage you all to ask for the use of OER. There's nothing wrong with reaching out, taking a little letter, sending it to your prof. And also a special shout out to the marketing team. I don't think anybody from there is here, but they're the ones who did the website. I had nothing to do with that. And Alex LeBon, thank you, and Matt, thank you. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Meredith. That's really cool. And I think the agenda was this one? Yeah, cool. No worries. All right, thank you so much again, Meredith, for doing that. Very significant. All right, so I'll now ask if there is any old business from the previous general meeting, and my understanding is there is not.
For the new business,
Yeah.
first motion, I would usually ask for discussion, and then
Yeah.
Brendan would come and present.
Are we going to do one motion for all of them, or?
Just for the budget line, for convenience for you, he does have like a little bit of a spiel.
Okay,
and, like,
great. Perfect. All right, so we're moving towards closer to the end of our evening, folks. So we're moving past no business arising from the previous AGM, no old business. So we're going to go move to new business, and that is a motion for the addition of a budget line for convenience for you. So we'll first have a short presentation and then following discussion before we vote on that. All good? It's all right. What was your name? Sorry.
Brendan.
So I'll introduce Brendan to you folks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brendan Roberts, and I love you too. And I am this year's Vice President of Finance and Operations. So I'm just going to try and find. So here we go. So here is our budget line for the new convenience store that we're planning on opening. We're hoping to open this convenience store starting late October, hopefully, or early November. And yeah, so what we're looking to do is amend the current budget to include this budget line, just because we didn't have this included because we didn't originally have a convenience store included. So yeah, so just if we're looking through the budget here, it's pretty easy to read. It's pretty simple. We have our sold product, which equals out to just over 180 grand. We have gift cards totaling over 4,000. Ticket sales just coming in at 3,000, and that equals to just over $187,000. And right below here we have all of our expenses listed. These include things like cost of goods sold, promotion, wages, anything pertaining to the cost that we will need to run this store. And all in all, that comes up to just under, I think that's $177,000. And our net income for this year projected is $9,000 about. So yeah, it's pretty simple, pretty easy to read. And then obviously the general operations budget reflects this, just in terms of our general revenue, general expenses. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty simple. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Awesome. Good, glad to hear. I'll hand it back over to Mitch.
Thanks, Brendan. I appreciate it. All right, so unless there are any questions arising there for Brendan, and I'm seeing none, we will get someone to, one of our council members, to move the motion to approve the... All right, motioned by Science Rep, seconded by Business Rep. Perfect. All those in favor of the addition of the budget line for convenience from you say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion is carried. Thank you so much, folks. We'll get one more motion out of the way. So we will now also move to motion to approve the audited financial statements presented for the 2020-2021 financial year. Motioned again by the Sciences Rep. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Seconded by... Perfect. African Descent Representative. All those in favor of approving the financial statements for 2020-21 say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thanks, folks. All right, and I believe we have one final presentation, which is the presentation of the 2021... Order, please. Presentation of the 2021-22 Executive Annual Plan by your StFX Student Union President. Anything for you. How do you have a grad ring? Oh, you get that?
I'm in 5th year, but you
classic.
play with courses and stuff.
Every president.
Degrease it a little bit.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. My name's Jack Irvin. I'm this year's Students Union President. So today I'm going to be presenting the Students Union Executive Annual Plan. So basically that's just a run over of everything we want to accomplish this year. Very exciting stuff. So, some of you might be asking, what is an annual plan? I'll give a brief rundown and then we'll get right into it. So an annual plan typically helps us to give the organization a direction for the year alongside our strategic plan, which was made last year and finalized. So we try to kind of align our annual plan somewhat along the strategic plan to make sure we're starting to accomplish some of those goals. It helps to increase transparency and accountability. It keeps the team task-oriented throughout the year, so we know our direction, we know what we need to accomplish, and we do it together. And as I said, it helps to move our strategic plan. So I'm going to go through the way the annual plan we set out this year kind of works. We have everybody's individual portfolio. Within those portfolio, everyone has specific goals. And from those goals, we have a support team for every goal with other executive members to make sure we're all continuing to work as a team while getting individual portfolio goals accomplished. So, moving into our first portfolio would be myself. So, some of the goals, the 3 goals that I have set out within my portfolio this year are, first off-campus advocacy. We also have measurables for each goal, which I'm just going to give you to give you an idea of what steps we're going to accomplish these goals by the end of the year. So for me, some measurables I have for off-campus advocacy would be 1, to mobilize a committee between the town, university, and students to give better advocacy efforts for students, to increase supports for the auxicles supports the off-campus Students Union community leaders to increase awareness for tenancy rights and external supports for students. And the support team for this is going to be Sophia and Ben. Thank you. The second goal is website and approachable marketing. So the first measurable is finalize the new website for the 2021-22 year. Thank you to our marketing team for getting that done this summer. Looks great. More measurables, a Students Union opt-in listserv for the 2022-2023 academic year. So that's going to be our goal by the end of the year, as well as transparency of the Students Union executive team. To the third goal, team project support. So to provide additional support at high work times for team members. So by identifying high workflow periods and developing a team year-long support plan, it can help be a better support for all of the executive members. Moving on to our next portfolio. Give it up for Meredith Cudmore-Keating, our VP Academic. Woo! So her first goal is going to be open educational resources, as she did just present. We love free textbooks and saving money. So some of her measurables are advocate to the university for the establishment of supports to encourage the adoption of open educational resources. And another measurable will be increase awareness among faculty about open educational resources, which she's been doing a great job of so far. Second goal is the exploration of an academic equity policy. Some measurables are identify the needs on campus and advocate for the needs at Senate. Our third goal is the implementation of REIS on our campus. So we're currently collaborating with the university to launch it on campus. Very exciting. So thank you, Meredith. Moving on to our next portfolio, we have give it up for Brendan Roberts, VP Finance and Operations. Brendan's goals, first and foremost, consist of the Kevin's Corner Food Resource Center. So some measurables within this. So as part of the Bloomfield renovation, we are relocating the Food Resource Center to Bloomfield here. It's going to be where the old McKinnon's Pharmasave was, so it's very exciting. We have rebranded and renamed it to the Kevin's Corner Food Resource Center instead of Students Food. We're going to adopt the breakfast program as one of the services offered by the center, expand the resources offered in the center, and explore the possibility of a hot meals breakfast program. Sounds delicious. Moving forward to the second goal, we have convenience for you. So as part of the Bloomfield renovation, we're going to open a convenience store where the old Pharmasave was. We're looking to open the convenience store by mid to late October. We're going to hire a student manager and 10 to 15 merchandisers and cashiers and select a product mix, and over the course of the year, consult students regarding their preferences. So if you'd like to see anything in our new convenience store, feel free to reach out to Brendan. Third goal, we have My Wellness, My Legal. So some measurables for this goal are to clarify the services offered by My Wellness and increase the awareness around it, consult various student unions and groups across Canada regarding My Legal service, consult students at X to find out the interest level in the My Legal service, and figure out the best implementation strategy if we're to move forward with it. Great, thank you, Brendan. Moving forward to our next portfolio, give it up for Kira Tessier, VP Activities and Events. Some of the goals we have for Kira are, first and foremost, engagement and collaboration. So she's going to be working with societies and student groups to ensure that inclusivity is at the forefront of our events, use Instagram and socials as a method of consultation, engage with the Equity Committee in creating inclusive and diverse events, and work with the community more to have more broad events that can occur within the community as well. Her second goal is Frost Week. First measurable is bring Frost Week back. Second, to have opportunities for new and transfer students, so for example, Winter Society Fair, campus tours, etc., and a concert for all ages, wet, dry, that caters to graduate and education students as well. Third goal is to restructure society training and the ratification process. So the first measure was to begin ratification process in April instead of September, provide role clarity and mandate participation in society fair, and improve the society coordinator transition with the new ratification process. Thank you, Kira. Looks great. Moving on, next up, give it a hand for Sophia Fabiano, VP Residence Affairs. Woo-woo. Her first goal is to continue the development of the SUCLs, also known as the Students Union Community Leaders. Some measurables for that are writing a strategic plan for following years, running elections in the House and evaluating the sustainability of the election format, which I can say was done extremely well this year, so congratulations, and increasing supports for Students Union Community Leaders. Her Our second goal is the residence renewal. So the residence renewal is occurring this year, being done by the university. So to attend committee meetings and ensure that students' ideas and concerns are being heard and considered throughout the project, which takes place over the next year. Student advocates is the third goal. So to create an online booking system, which has been complete, revise and modify student advocate training to better support advocates and ensure they are confident in their ability to help students, and increase awareness across campus and off campus so that students are aware of the service and how to use it. Thank you, Sophia. Great work. Last, we have Ben Fairhurst, our VP External Affairs. Give him a hand. We have 4 goals. Guy's got a lot on his plate for this year. So first and foremost, we have Atlantic OERs, the funding and institutional awareness of it this year. So some measurables are to conduct Open Educational Resource Awareness Week in coordination with Atlantic OER Student Group, lobby provincial government to set up sustainable funding for existing OER repository, provide formal advocacy ask at Government Roundtable, and work with faculty through Council of Atlantic University Libraries to promote administration and faculty awareness of OERs. Second goal is the post-secondary mental health standard. So to research and compile document of differences between existing and improved standard, to conduct student consultation about mental health and available services, receive help to conduct audit of existing services and their uptake on campus, and to advocate for institutional implementation of the new standard across Nova Scotia. Third is the Get Out the Vote youth voter mobilization. Glad to say this one's out of the way. So some measurables are to put out information and help students register for provincial and federal elections, to interview series of candidates in both provincial and federal riding, organize mixers to allow for more casual conversations between students and political candidates, and to organize the only all-candidate debate in Central Nova. Not a big deal. And fourth and last, we have awareness of external affairs portfolio to improve the visibility and knowledge of external affairs. So some measurables are to organize a town hall session with the MP, organize a town hall session with the MLA, and to interview with stakeholders at the municipal, provincial, and federal levels to keep students informed. That is all. That is our annual plan. If you have any questions, I am very open to take any questions anybody might have. Great. Well, thank you very much. Looking forward to the year.
All right, thank you so much, Jack. Do I just leave the present? How do I? I'm just going to use the agenda again. This may or may not be the agenda. All right, thank you so much. All right, for our last main motion of the evening, I will now look for someone to motion to approve the annual plan as presented. Motion by the Sciences rep, seconded by Equity. Okay, seconded by the Equity rep. All those in favor of approving the annual plan as presented, say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thanks so much, folks. So we're essentially at the close of our meeting tonight. I will take a moment to say a few things to you and thank you for what is either the third or fourth opportunity to do this as a non-Xaverian student. Yes, exactly. And I do take notes during this, and I did want to take a moment to recognize, I think, the work that the student union does, and I love this thing. And I think it's really worth it. I think the council and the executive really do know what the union does, but I think it's worth for the other students, the few who may be listening, to really understand how special I think what happens here. And I do say this every year, and I do mean it more and more, I think, each year, that it really is a different experience here than at the other universities, having done this work for other universities, having attended 2 other universities in Nova Scotia, that the work that the student leaders at StFX do is notable. Stuff like this open educational resources, like this isn't happening on other campuses. And I think it's really worth taking a moment to congratulate yourselves on the work you do, because I I really do enjoy coming here, and I'm always impressed by the work that you do. So for those of you who are on council or on leadership, to those who may have previously been on council leadership and who are still here, Sarah's here somewhere, I'm looking for. It's really, really good and it's meaningful work. And it's hard sometimes because you don't often compare yourselves to other student unions by way of there's none for a 2-hour drive. But it does stand out. As someone who does this work and has gone to other universities, it does stand out. And I hope that means something to you. It means something to me when I come here. And thank you for another opportunity to be here and to share it with you. So with that, I need one more motion. That's a motion to adjourn. So motion by the sciences rep, seconded by the business rep. It is 6:55 p.m. and I will call for a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary minded, nay. And the 2021-2022 AGM is adjourned, folks. Thank you so much.